We love hip hop.
Tim Hortons has been changing some of the rules, and now they're trying to reverse the way that it looks inside of a Tim Hortons behind the counter. Okay, with the heavy immigration that we were just talking about, there has been there's been changes over the years as far as the employees that you see in Tim Hortons. I'm there every day over at Tim Hortons. They know who I am. So when I go in there, they don't fuck up my order. I don't got no more problems. But if you just go just to some random Tim Hortons anywhere and then just says, just give your order, they might fuck it up because there's a language barrier. A lot of people just got here into the country, and it's been kind of disproportion in the hiring over the years, especially with a lot of the owners being from South Asian countries. They're like, yo, I'm gonna just hire my family or hire some of my peoples. And I get it. But now I think they've been trying to push back as far as the disproportionate hiring that's been happening at Tim Hortons. I have a story here that I'll pop up. And this is courtesy of the Wave Room. They're saying Tim Hortons is hiring 10,000 Canadians and pulling back on temporary foreign workers. The chain announced Monday it's launching a national recruitment campaign for local team members, citing a steady decline in the TFW hires, right? So this is temporary foreign workers hires since 2024. Of its 10,000 employees, roughly 4,000 were hired through the TFW program. About 3.6% of all restaurant roles. Tim Hortons acknowledged it lobbied the federal government to expand TFW access during the pandemic when labor shortages hit hard. Didn't I say this before earlier in the other segment? During the pandemic, they said, you know what? Everybody's inside. We know who we can get to run this shit. We know who we can get to be essential workers. Bring in everybody from other countries or one other country. Where are we here? With youth unemployment now elevated across Canada, the company says that push is no longer needed. Duh. The hiring campaign comes alongside a chain recently announced $400 million expansion, right, including 80 new restaurants and 400 renovations across Canada this year, with Ontario getting its largest share. Right. Let's see. Of its 10,000 employees, roughly 4,000 were hired. That's what he's laughing at. Because I'm wondering what Organic is laughing at. Big salute to Organic from King of the Dot. Founder of King of the Dot. He says 4,000, yeah, right. He's probably thinking to himself, yeah, more like friggin' 8,000, 9,000. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. There is a video that I have that talks about this expansion and the way things are changing over at Timmy's. Also courtesy of CBC. So Tim Hortons scales back use of temporary foreign workers. Well, let's get into it.
After years of lobbying Ottawa to make it easier to bring in more foreign workers, Tim Hortons now says it's committed to hiring more people in Canada, as many as 10,000, as the coffee and donut giant looks to open new locations. So what has the company said about the temporary foreign worker program and its future plans? Well, Sarah Galash's looking into that for us.
Yeah, so its future plans are important maybe to anyone who might be looking for a job potentially this summer or moving forward because, as you mentioned, 80 new restaurants that they are looking to open across the country, and they are looking to hire 10,000, what they're describing as local hires. And to that, they put out a press release today launching a national ad campaign specifically for that reason. And this campaign, we can show you here, a lot of the pictures, if you look closely, are of young people. And I think that that's the point they're trying to make here. They do say that they are a leader in this country of employing youth. 45%, they say, of their staff are between the ages of 15 to 24. And this is a company, and in this press release.
Look how happy he looked to get his Tim Horton job. All right? You can get some money for the summer. Look how happy he looked.
They actually talk about this, that has previously lobbied the federal government for greater access to what's called the Temporary Foreign Workers Program. And they made that lobby as recently as last year. But right now, they say only 3.6% of their employees are filled, or those employee spots are filled by the Temporary Workers Program. And that means an employee that comes from another country at the behest of the employer for a certain amount of time.
Carol said, young DJ Czar. Is that young Czar right there? Jeez. Kinda, eh? Kind of look like kind of Czar in the face. A young Czar in the face. I see it. I see it.
They don't need to, is what they're saying, look to that program because there's enough to be hiring within Canada, given the high unemployment rate, particularly of youth in the country. And so for that reason, they are using the word local to describe the hiring that they intend to do, and 10,000 positions is what they're looking for.
Now, in a moment.
Let's hope that they can fill up these 10,000 positions, because it'll be real egg on our face if these 10,000 positions are open and then it gets cut down to like, oh, well, there's still like 6,000 positions left because these little niggas don't want no jobs, okay? The little Canadian youths are like, I want to be a streamer. I don't want to work at Tim Hortons, Mom. They're going to call me a mesquite if they see me working at Tim Hortons. They're going to call me a loser, right? So please, if you don't have a job, this is for the youths them first, the small demographic of the youths them who watch this, like the kids, right? If you don't have a job, Tim Hortons is hiring. Don't let me hear that Tim Hortons got like 10,000 jobs open and y'all motherfuckers don't fill this shit up, okay? They're turning down Ranjit and whoever else to try to hire you right now, okay? And if you don't take the job, then they may as well just give it back to Ranjit and them, because you guys are lazy. So don't let me find out. Please don't let me find out.
We're going to hear from a senior executive from Tim Hortons about this change in plans. But let me ask you about some pretty significant competition looming for Tim Hortons, the American chain Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah,
Let's
an
go,
iconic
Dunkin'.
American chain. And Tim Hortons for Canada is really sort of the equivalent, if you were to ask many Canadians. Of course, it's important to point out that it is currently owned, at least partly, by a Brazilian-American private equity fund, but it is an institution.
Tim Hortons is not Canadian either, so get over it.
Tim Hortons for many Canadians. And CBC spoke with a business consultant who said that for Tim Hortons, they are really leaning on that Canadian history here in terms of how they plan to compete with Dunkin' when it arrives to Canada. Take a listen.
Dunkin' has aggressive plans to open a lot of locations next year, but it's still going to be several years before they catch up to the number of locations Tim's has.
Hold on, I got to start a new poll. I'm going to keep this running, but I'm going to start a new poll.
So I think their hiring local youth is just, again, doubling down on the fact that, you know, we're Canadian and we support local Canadian jobs and local Canadian people, which is just going to be an advantage for them.
Yeah, I mean, so think about it, you know, at a time when, you know, unemployment is high, and this is for many people, a beloved Canadian institution looking to hire Canadians. So look for those ads to be reflecting that kind of sentiment, rolling out probably as soon as this summer.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much.
I asked in the poll, what are y'all choosing? Okay, let me know. Timmy's or Dunkin' Donuts? Because once Dunkin' Donuts gets here, and Dunkin' Donuts got the cold drinks too, the cold drinks got Timmy's wiped down. Okay? Timmy's might have you on the hot drinks. They have me in a headlock when it comes to these friggin' ice caps. But Dunkin' Donuts might have you wiped down when it comes to some of them cold drinks, okay? Some of them different lattes and whatever. Their donut selection might have y'all wiped down. Right? Let me know. Oh, shit. Dunkin' Donuts. Yo, they're not even here yet, gang. Holy. There might be a lineup outside the Dunkin' Donuts when they get here.
My next guest is the Chief Corporate Officer at Restaurant Brands International, the company that owns Tim Hortons, among other fast food restaurants. Duncan Fulton, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Ian.
Let's talk about hiring. Less than a year ago, your company was lobbying the government to increase the cap on the number of temporary foreign workers that you could hire. But now Tim Hortons is promoting hiring a lot more Canadian workers. What's changed?
Canada first.
I think two things have happened in the last couple of days. First, we announced a major investment in Canadian communities, with 80 new restaurants being opened this year, 400 renovations, and a $400 million investment, mostly by our restaurant owners. And today we announced a local hiring campaign nationwide, looking for 10,000 local hires for our restaurants, including those new restaurants that are open. You know, our restaurant owners have always hired locally.
Look at what they picked. Look at the Tim Hortons they picked. Listen, I'm not trying to be racist or anything like that. I'm just showing y'all 1, 2, 3 into the 4.
You know, our restaurant owners have always hired locally. You know, I think there's been a misperception around the TFW program. In our case, we have 110,000 team members in 4,000 restaurants. Only about 4,000 of those are TFWs, temporary foreign workers, usually in those areas that are the most rural, remote, hard to find labor in.
Lies.
Yeah, so I think those numbers might surprise people because I think there is a perception, and frankly, some of the social media commentary, you know, verges or actually is a little racist on this. But there is a perception that Tim Hortons does.
Look who they picked to do this news story too. CBC, I see you. Holla at your boy. You smart. All right, Khaled voice. You smart.
Doesn't hire a lot of Canadians, does hire a lot of temporary foreign workers. But I guess there was a time a few years ago when you had a lot more temporary foreign workers than you do now, right?
A little bit.
There was a time coming out of COVID, and if everyone remembers back to 2021, 2022, people were slow to get back to work. People were slow to let their kids get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
The government increased the number of temporary foreign workers that the country could have across all industries, manufacturing, agriculture, retail, restaurant. We were certainly there encouraging that to make sure that we were open for Canadians. The reality is our restaurant owners have done 400 local hiring campaigns so far this year. Use of the program is down 50% year over year. We know youth unemployment is high. And at the end of the day, if you own a restaurant, it's just easier to hire locally.
Did they say use of that program, it went down 50% year after year? That is such cap, fam. What are we doing here? Listen, fam, let him do whatever he got to do, bro. Whatever you got to do to get the algorithm shaking, get it popping, brother.
Owners have always believed that, and that's what we're promoting with this new campaign, and I think your viewers will be seeing it on TV.
How confident are you that you can hit that 10,000 number?
I think very confident. I mean, we always hire locally.
Saying pull your stock out of Timmy's for real, eh? You think freaking Dunkin' Donuts about to kick their back in? Is that what you're saying, Shiesty's bud? As soon as Dunkin' Donuts gets over here, Timmy's stock's gone down. $2 million for, hold on, let me read this over here. Squeeze my glizzy says $2 million for a Timmy's franchise in 1990. It was 70,000. Yo, that's crazy. Yeah. Deleted Bill and said he got your boy on the podcast. Czar sellout. No, it's not a sellout. Okay, I know he has Czar on the podcast tonight. All right, I'm aware. I'm fully aware. But yeah, you're sidetracking me.
If you look at the 110,000 members we have, 96% of them have been hired locally. I think, and look, you raised, the issue of perceptions in the restaurant. The fact is our communities are more diverse today than they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We hire from the community. It's always been neighbors serving neighbors at Tim Hortons. And as our communities are more diverse.
He said our community is more diverse than 10, 15 years ago. I feel like it's the same. It's just a little bit disproportionate now in the diversity. But continue, sir.
Our restaurants look more diverse. But, coming in, you really have to ask yourself, people saying that folks aren't a Canadian in the restaurant. We have so many wonderful Canadians that have worked for us, that are from diverse communities, that have given their entire life to the brand, that have grown up with the brand, that have become owners of restaurants. Hiring locally is what we've always done.
Workers aside,
That is the most PR chat GPT ass answer I've ever heard in my life, bro.
there's an interesting debate in Canada about just how Canadian Tim Hortons, the company, is. Like, I grew up just outside Moncton, New Brunswick, one of those cities where there were a lot of Tim Hortons early on. So I grew up with the brand. I'm very familiar with it. It is an iconic part of growing up in Canada. But at the same time, a lot of people say, look, in 2026, this is no longer actually a Canadian company because of the ownership. What do you say to that?
What you say?
I think it is in every way. And actually, I'm from Fredericton, so I understand the perspective that.
Got him. Look at his smile. Got him. Actually, I'm from Fredericton. I'm from there, right? I'm right from where you're from, brother. So I understand. I get it. Got him.
And actually, I'm from Fredericton, so I understand the perspective that you grew up with Tim's. We have 1,500 Canadian restaurant owners who live and work in the communities across Canada where they own and operate those 4,000 restaurants. They paid out of their own pocket to build those restaurants, to buy those restaurants. They make payroll every single week for plus or minus 30 people that work in their restaurants. They give back to their communities to the tune of upwards of $100 million of the brand. And from
Hold on, I'm looking at his eyes. Okay, I'm looking to see if he's reading a teleprompter because this answer looked like homeboy sent him the questions before. Okay, we're not going to put you on the spot. We're just going to have a nice conversation with you. We just want to talk about the business practices over there at Tim Hortons. Okay, here's the questions. It's about a week and a half. You can prepare whatever answers that you want. Okay, and we'll have a good time.
The owners themselves, about $50 million. You look at where we buy our products, we're buying $1.6 billion a year from Canadian suppliers. The chairs in the new restaurants are Canadian maplewood, handmade in Montreal. At the end of the day, the brand is led by...
I think I told you guys this before, right? Because I did a CBC podcast the other day. But the thing is, I did tell you guys, I knew what my questions were going to be. I had a choice of whether I wanted to prepare my answers ahead of time or if I just wanted to just go in there and freestyle it. I knew I had it. Actually, I didn't tell you guys this shit. I'm freaking giving up the sauce. Shit. We live? Damn. Okay, well, I'm telling you now. I was prepared ahead of time. I know what the questions are going to be. If I want to go in there, this is the first time I actually knew because I've been on CBC multiple times and I've never actually gotten the questions ahead of time. This time I got the questions ahead of time. I could have gone in there, freestyled my shit, but if I did, I would have risked going over the amount of time that I would have had. It was a 25-minute show. I had a certain amount of time every time I wanted to go and, every time I was asked a question, basically. So I pre-prepared. I didn't write out the whole answer, but I put my points of what I'm going to be saying so that I could knock out all my points and try to do that within a minute. Okay. I say that to say this guy right here could have been well prepared way before this interview because he's able to pull up statistics. Oh, we did 1.6 million. This. The only time you see a motherfucker ready to pull up stats and all that is if he knows exactly what he's going to respond to every question that comes in. Okay. We're trying to really get to the bottom of this in this segment here. With all due respect to CBC. Okay. I fuck with y'all. Y'all put some bread in my pocket. So I ain't even trying to hate. But this is what they call a softball interview.
Our Canadian restaurant owners themselves, about $50 million. You look at where we buy our products, we're buying $1.6 billion a year from Canadian suppliers. The chairs in the new restaurants are Canadian maplewood, handmade in Montreal. At the end of the day, the brand is led by our Canadian restaurant owners. they really are the heart of the brand in our communities.
Coffee and a donut at Tim Hortons, that's the kind of at its most elemental level, what you have to offer.
Hold on. Pause. I felt like a tickle in my a booty tickle. It was just somebody blew smoke up my ass or something. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I'm trying to run my spliff, and while I'm smoking, and the smoke's coming out of my mouth, I hear this guy trying to blow smoke up my ass.
There's a lot of competition, right? The McDonald's wants me to buy their coffee, their Starbucks. There are lots of independent chains, and now you've got Dunkin' Donuts coming into Quebec and then presumably across the country. What's the biggest challenge for Tim Hortons right now in Canada?
Hey, yo,
we operate
chill.
on a 3-year rolling roadmap. So the food and beverages that you're seeing show up on the menu today have been in design for more than 2 years. The restaurants that we're going to be opening this year, those 80 new restaurants, those have been in the pipeline for a couple of years. Competition's always made us better, and we look forward to competition. Our focus right now is building out what are we doing in 2 to 3 years from now. I'm actually standing in our test kitchen. Every single new menu item that a Canadian will try at a Tim Hortons comes out of this kitchen in downtown Toronto. It's our headquarters. And our focus right now is looking at what comes next in 27, 28, 29 for the restaurants. And the team's brewing up some exciting stuff.
Duncan Fulton is the Chief Corporate Officer at Restaurant Brand.
Man, his name is Duncan. On top of that, damn, brother, you got the name of the ops?
International. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
Anyhow. So yeah, that's happening, okay? Tim Hortons is starting to hire more Canadians, all right? All of you youths out there, any of you guys who have youths in the chat, go and tell your kid to go over to the Tim Hortons. I don't think they go over and just do applications anymore. You can go on Indeed or whatever. Look up Tim Hortons. They're hiring, all right? Let me see what you guys are saying over here in the polls before I get out of here. I asked what are you choosing? I asked if it's Tim Hortons or Dunkin' Donuts. 74% of y'all are choosing Dunkin' Donuts over Tim Hortons. That's crazy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out these other videos on the screen and make sure to like and subscribe.
We love hip hop.